Isha ma'am, Vice Chairperson of Women Members Excellence Committee, to start off with the opening remarks. Thereafter, we can start with the ongoing session.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tapolabda. Very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all esteemed participants of today's series of webinar, Yasashwini and IDOL. And in this series, this is the first webinar. And in absentia, our chairperson, CA Preeti Paras Savlaji, our esteemed and eminent faculty for today's virtual seminar, CA Bhavna Ben Doshi, and Nandita Parekh ji, and our moderator Sonia Arora ji, Shweta, Dipali, Kashmira, Tapola from office side, Tapolabda and entire team, and dear participants. As said by Melinda Gates, every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We are strongest when we cheer each other on. So, as said by Melinda and as today's our speakers, they have already achieved a milestone. हिंदी में कहते हैं कि उन्होंने अपनी एक ऊंचाई को पा लिया है, एक ऊंचाइयों पे पहुंच चुके हैं. So we are lucky that this is the first our webinar in the series of Yasashwini, and we have with us Bhavna Ben and Nandita Ben. And I would say, as per my knowledge, that Nandita Ben was first, I think, merit holder, first female merit holder. Matlab girl, that time she was girl, so she was first in this merit list. And Bhavna Ben also at the ICI Central Council level, she was there in the leadership role. So both our female today's speakers are very motivational speakers also for all of us. And as today's headline, if you read the newspaper, that gender balancing the sheet, every third CA in country now of women. So what is the ratio of women chartered accountant? That is 30%. And 43% girl students are there. So still, I would say, gender equality is not there at top level, and at various level. If you see, you will see that at the ICI platform, maybe in job, so many female chartered accountants are there, but not in percentage wise. In true sense, that SDG 5 gender equality goal still we have to achieve. That is not achieved. So we can say specifically at top level, top positions, you definitely observed and you are aware about that. Still that gender equality percentage ratios are not there as at global level. So this is still, we can say in India, different aspects are here. And we all are aware about that Women Reservation Bill 23, already that said by that Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. And it was passed in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and it was first bill tabled and passed in new parliament building. So it means if we are talking about women reservation, so still it is needed. Yeah, women reservation का जरूरत है नहीं है. That is as per different level, different approach. Still somewhere missing, somewhere that is present. So even for ICI, I would say at branch level, at regional council level, at central council level, still this percentage are missing. So we cannot say that 50% or 30% or 40%, but no, very less female. For Bhavna Ben, I would say that she was only council member in her term. Once 2 council members, this time 3 council members are there amongst 40 council members. So this is the ratio. So still these ratios are really very different. So I would say specifically about our WMEC, this is one separate non-standing committee, and we have taken so many initiatives. Even last year, this committee has started Women Leadership Award also. And about the 2 points I would like to share with you all. One is related to professional opportunity. We are trying for those women who are not in the mainstream of profession. how we can bring them mainstream of profession. Still, so many female chartered accountant, they are just housewife, or they are not in the mainstream of our CA profession. Maybe matlab, we are motivating them in the form of that maybe you can join entrepreneurship or practice or industry. So particular through this platform, we have certain publication. Our female member can refer that publication. For example, Women Independent Director, one booklet we have published, one related to professional opportunity, specifically professional opportunity at various area. As per their convenience, they can do that particular kind of job. For example, outsourcing, for other areas, arbitration, mediation, insolvency, then valuation. There's so many other area we have compiled in that booklet, so member can join matlab that different professional opportunity also. So we have published one booklet on that also. And one major I would update about that, at our ICI platform itself, so many opportunities are there. For example, we have more than 40 committees are there. Our member can be the part of that. In board of studies, they may be the faculty, lecturer, and technical reviewer, advisor, examiner, observer. So that kind of opportunities are available at every committee. And specifically, for example, financial reporting review board, we have tax quality audit review board. So our member can also be the technical reviewer at that particular board, and they can get handsome remuneration in their particular that kind of job. So I would just request all members, if they are expert in any area, for example, if their expertise in sustainable reporting standard board, so we require some type of female chartered accountant who can translate some material, who can develop content, who can review that content, because every time we are updating, reviewing our existing publication. So for detail, you may explore our own website and portal. So that is all about our women member excellence committee. And I will not take much time because we have Nandita madam and other speakers are there. So dear members, you may send your feedback and suggestions. And I personally believe your feedback and support will encourage us to do better. So stay connected with the WMEC. And once again, I would like to welcome you all in this first series of Yasashwini seminar. So thank you very much. Now over to Sonia. I think Sonia will moderate next session.
So hello, this is Kashmir, CA Kashmir Nirmal. So
sorry, please.
So thank you, Chairperson CA Preeti Madam, Vice Chairperson CA Hamisha Ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to moderate this significant session of current trends in internal audit practices and opportunities. As Ma'am Hamisha Ma'am told that, yes, we have very less percentage of women CA at the top positions. So Women Member Excellence Committee from past 2 years is conducting various seminars for women members to enable them to compete and succeed in global work environment. So today we have with us an idol, Yashashwini C.A. Nandita Pari, here with us to inspire all our participants. She was a partner in CNK and Associates LLP. She specializes in internal audit and risk advisory services. Nandita is a regular faculty of professional seminars, corporate training seminars, and MBA schools on topics such as practice management, risk management, innovations in internal audit, corporate governance, and internal controls over financial reporting. She is a second rank holder in intermediate CA and a gold medalist at final CA exam. Nandita holds the distinction of being the first woman to top the final CA examination. After securing second rank in BCom and first rank in MCom, Nandita went on to pursue MBA from USA and worked with Coppers and Lybrand, an international accounting firm, for a period of 2 years in their Chicago office.
Madam, unmute please, Kashmira ji.
Yes, can you hear? Hello?
No. Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairperson CA Preeti Ma'am, Vice Chairperson CA Hamisha Ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to moderate this significant session of current trends in internal audit practices and opportunities. Women Member Excellence Committee from past 2 years is conducting various seminars for women members to enable them to compete and succeed in global work environment. Today, we have with us an idol, Yashaswini, CA Nandita Parekh, here with us to inspire all our participants. She was a partner of CNK and Associates LLP. She specializes in internal audit and risk advisory services. Nandita is a regular faculty at professional seminars, corporate training programs, and MBA schools on topics such as practice management, risk management, innovations in internal audit, corporate governance, and internal controls over financial reporting. She is a second rank holder in intermediate CA and a gold medalist at final CA exam. Nandita holds the distinction of being the first woman to top the final CA examination. After securing a second rank in BCom and first rank in MCom, Nandita went to pursue MBA from USA and worked with Coppers and Librant, an international accounting firm, for a period of 2 years in the Chicago office. She has authored a book on internal controls over financial reporting, a handbook for private companies and their auditors. A passionate internal auditor, Nandita has significant work for advocacy of internal audit through publications articles in BCA Journal, contributing papers for professional conferences, and designing interesting and innovative workshops for skill building for internal auditors. Nandita has done pioneering work in pursuing the cause of women CA chartered accountants in synthesizing the profession about the need for better work-life balance and has supported many women professionals in restarting their professional careers. An academician at heart, she is actively engaged in mentoring articled students and young professionals. Today's topic, current trends in internal audit practices, is very relevant to all our CA women members. And who else can elucidate us on this area? None other than our eminent speaker for today, CA Nandita Parekh. I would like all participants to make most of this opportunity and post your questions, if any, in the chat box. We would take all of them at the end of the session. Ma'am, handing over the session to you, CA Nandita Parekh.
Yeah, just before starting, Nandita ji, I have received 2 or 3 messages related to professional opportunity at in this area specifically. So just if you will elaborate on that,
Sure.
2 or 3 messages just I have received.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Thank
Am I audible? Am I clearly audible? Great.
Yes.
So should I start with sharing my screen so that the presentation is also up? Is the presentation also visible? Is the presentation also visible to all? Yes.
Visible. It is.
Okay. All right. So, first of all, I'm very honored after a long time. I'm first in something. So, I'm the first one to be the opening batsman of this series. And I hope that in this series also, the WMEC is able to score a century like the earlier series on the Sky High Symposium. So, with this, let me, without any further detailing, thank the committee, to Preeti Savla, who remains a very dear friend and whose growth in the profession and commitment to women members I truly admire, and the entire team of people she has got together. Very, very fortunate. I think our profession and women in particular are very fortunate to have this kind of support in their professional journey. So let me start with the topic for the day, internal audit trends and opportunities. The way I have divided my presentation is we go from the mega trends to the macro environment, but most of that is applicable to the larger organization, to the larger audits and to the larger firms. So the second half of my presentation will be focused on the small, medium, individual practitioners, somebody wanting to make a comeback to the career, somebody wanting to make a shift to specializing in a particular subject. So that would perhaps be a little more relevant to the audience that we may have today, which I do believe that we have pan-India audience and mainly women chartered accountants who are looking at career progression within the profession. So, when we look at trends, what really are trends? So I think women should know what are trends, because we all look at fashion trends in many ways. We look at entertainment trends. So we also need to look at what are the trends that we are seeing in the profession that we may choose, which is internal audit. The reason I'm very passionate about internal audit as a profession is because it has got place for everyone. If you're creative, there is a creative space. If you're analytical, you can bring your analytical skills. If you're good with writing, you can bring your written communication skills. If you are an entrepreneurial spirit, you can get your business understanding to the fore. If you are basically very fond of accounting, auditing, you bring that. But anything that as a chartered accountant and as your varied background, whatever skills you have, you want to say, I want to put it in practice. Internal audit is one platform, one profession which has place for everyone to be accommodated. So that is why second reason why I'm very fond of internal audit, and particularly for women chartered accountants, is that it is a profession which requires a wide view, a worldly view. It requires the understanding of technicals, behaviors, and certain emotional aspects of running a business to be a good internal auditor. And I do feel that women are really, really geared for that. The third reason I like that many of the professions, whether it is GST, whether it is income tax, whether it is international tax, when you take a break from these careers, you have a lot of catch up to do because a lot of regulations are changing and expertise that is required actually puts you back. Whereas internal audit is one place where the quantum of technical training that you need to do is less. But the wisdom that you have gained in the break years, when you are taking a break for bringing up a family, for interacting with school, but going for PTA meetings, for adjusting to a completely new family, all those skills also you bring back and put them in place. So according to me, as a comeback career, as a primary career, as a growth space, or as a versatile space, internal audit is something which should appeal to most people. When I look at trends, I'm going to first talk of why I feel that internal audit is slated for really good growth. So obviously, we are all seeing the markets. We all see that ticker. We see the index going up. We see India being in prominent news, not only in Indian newspapers, but all over. So the number of listed companies are increasing. Number of companies who aspire to list are also increasing. And any company who's aspiring to list needs to know that my internal audit needs to be in place. No good independent director is ready to join a board unless the internal controls are in place and there are good good internal auditors who can give that assurance. Then again, if you see, there are a whole lot of new regulation. When a new regulation comes, the organization has to become ready. Two things have changed with respect to regulations. That regulations are becoming more global, whether it is data privacy, whether it is PMLA, whether it is LODR amendments. All these are now matching the global scale. But the time given for implementation is not endless. Earlier, 2 years time was given, then further 2 year extension. Now, pretty much in a 6 to 12 month window, companies have to be implementation ready. So this is when a company feels that if I have to give assurance to my board that we are ready for implementing data privacy related regulations, or we are compliant on related party regulations, or our CSR is in place and we have assurance, it becomes very difficult for a small in-house team to manage all this. Typically, whenever a new regulation comes in, the organization seeks either consulting or auditing help from external agencies, so it creates opportunities. Third is, regulators are taking stricter action. Earlier, when we would drive on our highways, whether it was Mumbai-Pune Expressway closer to my home or any other highway, the speed limit was there. But most people exceeded the speed limit. What happened very soon? Cameras came in and you come back from Pune to Mumbai and you have a bill of 4,000 rupees. You have violated the the speed limit twice. So when the regulator becomes strict, people who were paying little less attention to compliance also become very vigilant, and definitely they don't want to be caught on the wrong side. Fourth thing that has also happened is if you make mistake, you are extremely scared because with the social media, with somebody speaking up, the fact that you have made a mistake will be known to the whole world in no time. And the larger the company, more prominent the individual, more well established the independent director or the executive director, he is at greater risk, because people who are in that kind of celebrity or esteemed status are very vulnerable to social media attack. So when we look at this whole mix, you realize that the climate is ripe, that this is the time internal audit skills will be required, whether for in-house employment or for independent internal audit practice. And these become also our marketing or our convincing points to organizations, because many organizations, particularly when you look at small, medium-sized enterprises, they are not even aware of the regulations that they are required to comply with. So this is one of the trend that I firmly believe in. The second is co-sourcing as a model. So internal audit, as you know, can be done in three ways. Either it can be completely in-house team, full set of employees. It can be completely outsourced. So you've given your internal audit to XYZ firm and they are entirely doing it. A third model, which is gaining a lot of momentum, is that you have a core internal audit team in-house, but you engage specialist firms for different parts of your internal audit plan. So there will be an IT audit, which will be done by an IT specialist firm. There will be a PMLA audit, which will be done. There will be a supply chain review, which will be done by supply chain specialists. So when we look at that as a co-sourcing model, our work becomes easier, because at the other end, we are speaking to somebody who understands internal audit and values internal audit. When it is completely outsourced, we are talking to people whose primary focus is on business, on profits, on growth, on competition. Internal audit is just one small area in their mindset. But when a chief internal auditor is there, he has already spoken, he has already established a place for internal audit in the organization. The third trend, that internal audit will move away from financial areas to non-financial areas. Why is that? Financial areas are not less important. But if you see, good comprehensive ERPs have been in place, quarterly audits have been in place, time-wise audits conclude now within 30 days to 45 days of the year end for many large companies. So the financial systems have stabilized. A lot of operating systems have stabilized. But these new requirements, what is your sustainability? What are you doing for environment? What is the culture of the organization? How vulnerable is the organization to a cyber attack? Have there been any ransom demands on the organization? Has the data of the organization been sold by some employee for a price? So these become very important. So for an internal audit, if earlier 80% focus was on a financial or mainline operations area and 20% on other area, that balance is likely to shift, and a good 30, 40, 50% of the attention of internal auditors will be on areas other than mainline financial reporting or operational efficiency. So this also broadens the space in which internal auditors will operate. I have done a more detailed presentation because the presentation can be shared. I will not be going through all the details. What I really want to bring, that what I'm talking about internal audit trends is really joining the dots. Everyone knows the data, but when you join the dots, you see a picture of where internal audit is headed. I am showing you that picture. Now, to understand new risk and embrace technology, I'll give you a small example. That one of our friends' son, who is in London, he's getting married to a Gujarati boy, is getting married to a South Indian girl, and the wedding has to happen in Chennai. Now, if you understand, if people are in the Western belt in metros, our wedding season really is November, December, January, February, the cooler months, open air weddings. But the Chennai wedding, when they suggested November, the girl's family said, no, no, no. That is cyclone season in Chennai. We can't take the risk if we are getting people from abroad. So the wedding is to happen in September. Now, this is one example of climate risk. And what I really want to prod the audiences here, that in internal audit, the understanding of the business climate comes from our day-to-day experiences. How is the mango season changing? How is the wedding season changing? How is the spending of the people who help us at home changing? Is it festivals or is it education? that is the change which is there in society, and that is what you will see in organizations. So when we look at the risks at a macro level and incorporate it in our audit becomes of a different quality altogether, because we are no longer saying that entertainment expense has wrongly been debited to conveyance. Nobody really wants to hear that anymore. There are a lot of new risks because, having a fake video, having a fake message, these are things which kill reputations which are built over years. And organizations, as they become larger, will need to start protecting themselves against these risks also. If you understand risk, you can start thinking of solutions before the risk occurs. So you are ready with your answer when the question comes to you. The next thing is who plays the role. Now, initially, while internal audit is supposed to report to audit committee functionally, and then to the managing director for operating areas, typically in many cases, the CFO drives the internal audit. Internal audit almost in many cases reports to the CFO. Now that will no longer be, because in independent directors, two changes, a new generation of independent directors is coming to the fore. The earlier independent directors came from people known to the management. Now they are coming from people who come with strong recommendations, who have a reputation, who have a certain public profile, and who are really no-nonsense independent directors. So they want to interact directly with internal auditors. Audit committees want space with internal auditors one-on-one. In fact, you can ask Bhavna Ben, because she has been one audit committee member where I was an internal auditor, and I know that one good independent director on the audit committee makes a world of a difference in how the company would be governed. So independent directors, when they become more engaged with internal audit, the compensation ceilings or limits that internal audit has been facing will slowly start easing up, and we will see better compensations for internal audit as we go forward. The sixth is standards and certifications will gain momentum, because any profession gains value when, if I do the internal audit, or Kashmira does, or Ruchi does, or Preeti does, if there is a certain quality mark which can be consistent, then the internal audit profession grows. But if my internal audit is very different from your internal audit and from a third person's internal audit, the world doesn't understand what internal audit is all about. So when standards come, it brings in consistency, it brings in quality, it brings in a larger understanding. For example, when you say my body is warm, we don't understand. But when I say temperature 103, everybody says something needs to be done, because there is a standard beyond which temperature cannot be tolerated. So the same way, when I say that the audit quality suggests that the organization's controls need improvement, the audit committee stands up. So when we talk the same language and perform the audit in same way, the profession will be understood. Also, for people to understand why we are more suited to do internal audit, whatever we may understand, but a certification kind of consolidates our position in the profession. So I'm very happy to note that the institute has restarted the certificate program on internal audit, because for many years there was a certificate program only on concurrent audit, and there are a lot of other post-qualification programs like forensic, FAFD, and risk management, etc. But within the institute or outside the institute, the need to have certification to corroborate your qualification will also increase. People will ask that how many people of your team are certified internal auditors, or they have some kind of specialized training. And finally, the composition of IA teams will change. Earlier, IA teams comprised of, and I say this with a lot of respect for the IA teams that were largely chartered accountants, a large pool of what we call the semi-qualified auditors, or people who are in between their inter-CA and final CA, and hardly 10% who come from a BMS or a mass media or a engineering or a technology background. But there will be a change, because new non-financial audits will require new skills. And when they require new skills, we will have to make teams which are more versatile. Teams will become interesting. teams will also become younger, because if you see our entire startup culture, the average age of a startup CEO is 35 or under. Now, when that 35 or under is not ready to listen to his parents, he definitely is not wanting to listen to auditors who have gray hair. I've specially colored my hair for this session. So, not ready to listen to auditors who are the age of their parents. They want an auditor to whom they can relate to, who feels like a friend, philosopher, and guide. So I do expect that IA teams will become younger, because internal audit team engages with the management. They do consensus building. If they are suggesting, they don't only have to put a recommendation on report, but they have to walk the talk, hold the hand, and help the organization bring about those changes. I also expect that more women will rise to leadership positions in IA, because I do feel that women have more versatile skill, and perhaps in the formative years of their professional life, less time to seek technical superiority. So when I look at the balance, that women will have versatility, they will have life skills, they would have understood how shopping patterns are changing, they would have understood how entertainment patterns are changing, they've understood how healthcare patterns are changing, they've understood how payment, that today even my vegetable vendor expects a payment online. He doesn't say that chutta nahi hai. That chutta nahi hai time has gone. So when we assimilate all this knowledge, what happens in our personal life is just a mirror of what is happening in business life. Because when I am a consumer, somebody else is a businessman who's providing. And if I understand that person, I understand the entrepreneur who's trying to set up an online platform, or a business who's looking to manufacture uh, items which are meant for the new age economy. So according to me, women will find it more convenient to seek leadership positions in fields which require a wider understanding of the society. And there will be ample opportunities for the sole proprietors, for small and medium size enterprises, to join hands with larger firms, with large IA teams in-house, by showcasing their specialization in niche areas, whether it is specific regulations, whether it is technology transformation, whether it is supply chain related audits, but they will see a lot of doors opening, because in internal audit, a lot of work comes through word of mouth. So these are the broad trends. These are really mega trends. So this is what the world is telling us. Now I go to the next, that what are the opportunities? I do believe that opportunities are not like reservations. Reservation is a law, but not every woman has become a director on board. When there is an enabling platform, there is something that the woman has to do to get a seat on that board. So here is what I'm saying, that opportunities will not come knocking. But when you know that there is chance of an opportunity, you need to go and seek it out. So looking at again the macro picture, there are certain regulatory requirements. Large companies, all listed companies require internal audit mandatorily. All players in the BFSI space require internal audit. Mutual funds, AMCs, alternate investment platforms, banks, insurance companies, and some of them require multiple audits. They require systems audit, they require concurrent audit, they require internal audit, they require claim settlement audits. So there are a lot of mandatory, there is already a little mandatory market space which is there. But there is a different market space which is slightly where a little more reaching out needs to be done. Wherever there are complex regulations, if you just see charitable trust, in the last year, every month I've seen some credible seminar or workshop happening on just understanding charitable trust regulations. If you see last 5 years, the number of seminars which were held in this space, I think that many have happened in just 1 year. If you see schools, colleges, the size and scale, the online universities that are there, the teaching platforms that are there. So when you look at all these, now these people may not require a mandatory internal audit, but if we are able to reach out and showcase as to what internal audit can do to you, it would make a world of a difference. I will give you one small example, that we were auditors for a hospital. And we found that, and hospital is very different. When a patient comes in to the casualty or to the emergency ward, you don't know whether he has got a headache because of dehydration, where you give saline and in 24 hours he will bounce back, or is it a brain tumor which is causing. So you don't know whether his bill is going to be 3,000 rupees or 30 lakhs rupees when a patient comes in. So credit risk assessment is very difficult, because I can assess credit risk if I know whether you are buying from me a ball pen or a Apple computer. But when I don't know what services you are going to seek. Also, what happens is, when the doctor says discharge, within 6 hours, the patient pays his bill, settles, and goes away. You cannot go find him, I forgot to bill you 30,000 rupees. Can you please come back? No patient is going to come back. So your billing system have to be that good as a hotel. And your credit risk assessment, you just cannot do, because you cannot refuse treatment. So we used to find a lot of times that billing gets skipped out, particularly on the last day. Certain charges get missed out, certain medicines which have been supplied, certain tests which have, lab reports have come, but the lab has not sent in. So time and again, we would say so much is the revenue leakage, but there is no way of recovery. That got converted after talking that the point of audit needs to be changed. Our team will audit before a patient is discharged, which is in the 3 hours between the doctor saying fit for discharge and the hospital actually discharging the patient. And believe me, in a large hospital, month after month, this team is able to find 7 to 10 lakhs of revenue leakage, which actually gets recovered. Now, the first one is where I'm pointing out and causing only heartburn. Arre, revenue chhut gaya. I've lost out revenue. The other is where people feel that this agency is putting money in my pocket by making sure that I don't miss out on billing. So when you look at these kind of opportunities, you have to be very in touch with the management, and you have to know what is really the pain point and be able to address the pain point. We will get a lot of assignments that way. So when do you say that we explore the mandatory space? Mandatory space is exciting. It is established. Internal audit is required. There are rotations happening in this space, new audits coming up. So that is definitely a market for the internal audit professional. Even regulators appoint inspectors who have internal audit background. So SEBI will appoint you as an inspector for a mutual fund, or the certain banks, RBI will appoint you. So these are also opportunities which come based on your experience. But the more exciting space is the power of voluntary. Because if you are able to create that connect and say, well, you want to go for an IPO next year, I can make sure that you can sleep at peace. There are going to be no surprises on the compliance front, or there are going to be no hiccups, because my team will give you an early alert. These are the spaces where the relationship is more exciting. All of us will understand when I say that the compulsory space is like arranged marriage. It takes time to win the love of the person who is employing us, because they feel ye to karna hi hai. So love to kabhi kabhi sometimes you will fall in love, sometimes you may not fall. The person who's employing us as internal auditors is ticking a box. From ticking the box to must have is a journey. But when you are seeking voluntary internal audit, it is like love marriage, that they are convinced that you will be able to make a difference, you will be able to bring value, and this is a partnership worth pursuing. So that is why you are there. So this is the space which I find very exciting. And in my journey as an internal auditor, I find that the voluntary appointment of internal audit has always given me more mind time of the management than the compulsory space. So this is something that I would want you to really explore. And now finally to the crux of this session. The whole series is about making a leap. The reason is that if I had a difficult journey reaching from point A to point B, I can help you reach point B so that your difficult journey starts from point B to point C. The next 5-6 slides are only on the mistakes I made as internal auditors in my early years. I don't want you to repeat those mistakes. I don't want you to miss out those opportunities. So those are my last 7 slides, so that I end in time for the next very happening session, which will start at 4 o'clock. So where I'm coming from, that what really is internal audit, and I would like to go back to the definition, our ICI's definition of internal audit, that it is an independent management function. It is not something which is biased, which is controlled, where somebody puts words in our mouth and we write it in the report. No, we are an independent management functions, involves continuous and critical appraisal of the functioning of an entity as a whole, with a view not to find faults, but to suggest improvements, to add value, and to strengthen overall governance mechanism of the entity, including its risk management and internal control systems. So the question that I need to ask is not how many mistakes I found in internal audit, but what difference did my presence make to the organization which I'm auditing? Is it better off? Is it at greater peace? Is it able to grow faster? Is it able to appreciate controls better? Are we able to prevent frauds? Are we able to create an ethical platform where people don't feel like committing frauds? So that is the space which is the interesting space. The interesting space is creating impact as an internal auditor, not to create only a scare or a fear, or not to make the auditee look small and ineffective. So first is no opportunity is small. Small opportunities are where the big assignments start. And there are some unusual opportunity doesn't come in terms of a billable engagement. As Kemisha earlier said, and Kashmira also said, that opportunities come by taking part in a committee. Opportunities come by taking a session in a study circle. Somebody will say, okay, this person seems to know internal audit. I'm a statutory auditor. I think she looks to be a good internal audit material for my client. It comes of networking at IA conferences so that you can pool resources together. It requires you to have a LinkedIn presence, where you are creator and not only a consumer. Tells the world what is your story, what do you believe in, what kind of articles you comment on, what are the articles or what is the industry which interests you. Sometimes conducting pro bono internal audits, and I'm going to throw one very strange thought, that we are a lot of CAs and lot of CA firms. If we at least do internal audit of each other's firms free of cost, I will do your audit, you do my audit, I am sure something good will come, because each one will be able to tell that I have seen these practices in other firms. How about you thinking, because you are larger than my firm, you may be wanting to practice that. Documenting SOPs, sometimes saying that we have performed this audit. For our understanding, we have documented this SOP. We thought that this would be a standard operating procedure. This would be helpful to you. And just giving it free of cost. Next time, the organization has to document SOPs in-house for a fee, they will think of you. So there are a lot of small opportunities. Don't look at fees. Look at getting attention. Somebody needs to notice you in the way you perform work. We already talked that finding fault is only 5%, 10% of our job. When you find a fault, what is the pattern? Why is this mistake happening? How can I strengthen? How can I automate so that this mistake will never happen? What is it? Is somebody overworked so that their attention is not there? Is somebody not trained enough for the job? So when we go from the symptom to the root cause, we go from fault finding to providing solutions. And then we work with the person who committed the mistake and not with the person who is supervising. So these are some of the things where we need to bring in an attitude change, and it will show. It will show in the way we are welcome. So I always say that a good internal auditor is when you enter the organization and somebody comes and says, please come and have a cup of tea with me. You are doing your job well. That is a sign, because somebody wants to engage you in a conversation and wants to find from you what is happening with my organization, what is happening with similar other organizations. Looking at patterns, this I find very, very strong. There are transactional errors. Now, transaction error can be corrected. It is Instead of 2 lakhs, you have made an entry of 20 lakhs. There is an 18 lakh mistake. We all come across this. But it doesn't solve anything. But I need to look at the action that is taken. If only one transaction is corrected, it's a very poor action. But if somebody has said, how can we prevent? Can we put monetary limits? Can we put a maker checker? You are at least creating prevention so that such errors will not recur. But more important, the pattern, that how come in this organization, this kind of mistakes keep happening? There is something wrong in the kind of accounting system or basic controls that they have, or the basic manner in which they are operating, or the speed at which they are required to enter data. So when we look at pattern, that if it's a pan-India organization, why is a particular branch having more NPS than others? Why is there very high turnover in one of my manufacturing units, one of my clients' manufacturing units, where other units are stable? Why is energy consumption so different? So when you look at pattern, you are able to solve a problem for all times to come. So when you look at a transaction, you are only solving one problem. When you provide action and internal control, you are preventing only that kind of error from recurring. But when you look at pattern, you are not only solving that problem, you are solving a whole lot of other problems. So learn to recognize a pattern. Like I always say, in a good school, if a child who was good at studies suddenly drops in exam marks, you can scold the child will improve in results. But you can talk to the child and understand what is really happening. You will create a hero out of that child. So the same way, our organization is like our mentee. We are there to coach the organization to really understand what is troubling that organization and look at the pattern. Uh, Again, as I say, patterns have to be observed in the environment at large, not just at the client location. So if you have a restaurant as a client, look at how the restaurants are changing. Every restaurant you go, you see how many tables are occupied and how many Zomato or Swiggy scooters are parked outside. If the entire profile of the restaurant is changing, that it is becoming a delivery hub and no longer remaining a nice dining restaurant, this is a pattern you need to discuss with the owners. That do you really need a place in prime space or do you only need a cloud kitchen? So this is the way we observe patterns all around and bring it into our audit. So this is the same thing, that if you once in a while omit spotting a mistake, nothing will go wrong. But if you miss a pattern altogether, like a weather pattern or a pattern of the climate change, then the organization will really crumble. Technology, I don't need to say, everybody knows there is so much emphasis, but everybody is scared that the world is talking of AI. I have not done any courses in AI. What do I do? My simple question is that a fifth standard student can help a third standard student who's struggling. So map yourself that where are you in the technology maturity framework? Are you at the top end? Are you at the middle end? But even if you're at the middle end, there are organizations who are still writing manual books, who have not understood the power of Tally, who have not understood the power of automation through Excel. So in technology or digital transformation, there is always an organization who can get benefit from you. So we don't need to be at the top end game. So if we don't understand global taxation, there is still some senior citizen who's struggling to file his individual tax return. There is still somebody who was brought up when there was no long-term capital gains who finds it difficult to calculate long-term capital gains. So the same way, technology is a place which, if you choose your customers or your clients right, you will be able to bring very visible, effective change to that organization. So upgrading we must, but while we upgrade, bring others up also. And most important, when large frauds happen, it is that a lot of people in the organization know, but nobody has the courage to bring it up to the management. Now, as internal auditors, we are objective. We are outside the organ. Even when we are employed, we are chief internal auditor, our role is independent. So if we don't have the courage to speak up, If we don't have that, your senior people are not happy, you are going to have a lot of attrition, or your IT systems are breaking down way too often to have continuous operations. There are a lot of business disruptions. So what happens is that when you know that there are sensitive issues, have the courage to bring it up and say that I feel this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm sensing. You need to validate. You can give me an engagement to revalidate this, but don't feel shy. So you need to, when you come up with an issue, you need to think, is it an elephant or is it a mouse? When I look for mouse, this is the picture which comes. You no longer even get a mouse as your first selection of the picture. But what is really important is that if you are able to take the bull by the horn, management will respect you very differently. Um, and finally, when we look that in this present organization, present sense, no matter what you do, cyber attacks will happen, data thefts will happen, um, certain frauds will occur, certain attrition will happen. People staying with you for beyond 3 to 5 years will be novelty, because employment spans are reducing, loyalty is reducing. But what you can really focus on is the culture. What value system, what culture, and what controls which enable that control, that culture to stay, that will really make a difference. Now, this is a role where the internal auditor becomes a coach or a mentor to the CEO. And that also is a very interesting space. So as I said, not everything that counts can be counted. Not everything that is counted, that can be counted counts. Need to look at a much wider picture. What is the environment? Today young people don't want to join an organization which has a high carbon footprint, or which doesn't have a clear diversity and inclusivity agenda, or an organization which is not doing something for its people, which is beyond the employment contract. So if you have to attract people, you will have to look at all these intangibles. You will have to look at culture, and this starts small. Today, a Hindustan leaver is not going to engage you or me to look at their culture, but your friendly neighbor who started in new startup, who's got his first round of funding and is now looking at the next round, will want to say that, I want to talk to you. What is really not going right with my organization? So these are all opportunities within the internal audit space. Look at how the organization is looking at loyalty, ethics, adaptability, bribery, corruption. And that really is the voyage of an internal auditor, because, the world is changing. In a large way, the world is not changing. But if we have different eyes to see the world, we can make a difference. As an internal auditor, this is a great opportunity to make a difference in the space of sustainability, in the space of CSR, in space of diversity, in space of digital transformation, in terms of data privacy, in terms of preventing cybercrime. So the world is open to you. This is a space for small, medium, large, women, people who have taken a career break. There is a space for everyone. On this note, I would like to end with a very small poem which captures, in a way, my journey as an internal auditor, and it will resonate with many. It says An Internal Auditor's Tale. We had published it as a blog through the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. I sat in a corner, quiet and meek, ready to give assistance that no one would seek. Most internal auditors are not liked when they are appointed. A one-person department, I was the internal auditor, asked to review vouchers to find petty faults like a class monitor. Who likes a class monitor really? And invited to the audit committee because the law said so. I was given full 5 minutes to summarize the entire year on the go. You know how audit committees happen? The agenda takes over and then finally say, oh, internal audit discussion is pending. Let's wrap it up in 5 minutes. My CEO said, we are in trouble. Sales are dipping, competition severe. But I look at the vouchers, nothing more I do. I'm just an internal auditor. What can I do? Then came a mentor who took me aside. Wise words she spoke that made me realize You are the internal auditor with your canvas so wide. Be fearless and fair. You will have insights to emphasize. I left my lonely corner and started looking around across functions and activities, and oh, there was so much to be found. I met with many folks in cabins and on shop floors, no longer to find their faults, but to ease their woes. Analyzed the sales, studied the competition, read research reports, and understood the global trends. Armed with my insights with the CEO I met, if you don't change your ways, your business is dead. Angered by my words, but worried to the core, I got an audience with the CEO and many more. Technology is changing our world in ways unseen. Today's thieves don't break the locks, they enter through your screen. Opportunities are many, and so are the threats. May I take you through some gaps that must surely make you fret? And allow me to show you the ways to succeed with risks and controls and culture and ethics. Invited to the boardroom, no longer as a pest, I laid bare my reviews with utmost grit and zest. My presentations enchanting, very few words to read, they spoke with urgency through pictures, charts, and reels. As I conclude this session, here's what remember must you. If you want your world to change, the change must start with you. I think this is a good ending point for the next session with the same topic. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for choosing me to be the one to open this series. I wish all of you great success and a very enjoyable journey as you thrive in the profession. Thank you so much.
Wow is the word, madam. I actually have, stopped just there that how to thank you also. But first, we will go to the questions which are put forward by the. The first question is for Kamisha ma'am. Kamisha ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Actually, my that Wi-Fi is not stable. That's why I switched off my video.
No problem. One question is for you that where do we get the booklet you mentioned earlier?
Okay, one booklet is available on our professional development committee site, that is Quick Insight. In that Quick Insight, all 360-degree professional opportunity are there, and specifically what are the technical requirement and how they can impanel and how they can register. So that kind of one booklet is there. And also our WMEC portal booklet is also there, specifically professional opportunity for female chartered accountant, and one related to outsourcing, that is account outsourcing services and certain advisory and consultancy services at global level. That one booklet is also there under that our committee related to WTO. And member may send their email ID na, so our office will send soft copy of that books.
Okay, and the second question is that where is the vacancy in these boards that are posted? Normally, we don't get to know about the vacancy.
Yeah, they should explore, I think, on regular basis of our various committee portal. For example, if they are in audit and assurance services, immediate they can impanel as a technical reviewer, and they can impanel through financial reporting review board. For very senior chartered accountant, if they are in audit and assurance, they may be like impanel at QRB also, quality review board. And tax professionals, they can impaneled over tax audit quality review board, TAQRB. And certain other technical standards boards are there. So generally we require those kind of professional who are expert in these particular areas. For example, just I'm giving example, sustainable reporting standard board, AASB auditing standard board, accounting standard board, then public finance and government accounting. At this area, matlab public sector is local for local bodies, accrual accounting system, and so many new opportunities are there. So they may explore that relevant committee, and they can send their resume also. And like we have more than 40 certificate courses are there. Just I'm giving one example. If they have completed INDES certificate course or GST course, so they may impanel over there as an examiner, as a faculty, as a paper writer. or they may start like content development related to publications of that relevant committee. So ICI itself, so many opportunities are there. Apart from routine areas of practice, they may explore these areas also.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Nandita ma'am, one question for you. It's from Jyoti nahi, it's from Megha from Ahmedabad. She says, hello there. Maybe we know what are the globally accepted certifications in IA, recognized both in India and abroad. So she's asking what are the globally accepted certifications?
So globally accepted certificates that I know of, there is the IIA, which has a certified internal auditor program. For chartered accountants, there is also they have I think 3 or 4 modules. But for chartered accountants, every year once or twice, they have given certain exemptions, and there is a fast track certification. Having said that, I always so these then the certified fraud examiner is there, which is in a related line. Then there is the Institute of Risk Management, which has level 1 to level 5 certification for risk management, which are all related areas. IIA has in many other certification also, but the CIA is the most well-known certification that they have. Having said that, I also feel that our Indian certification, which ICI is doing, is also a good starting point, because how a lot of people first did their DISA, and then if they wanted to work with certain kind of companies and CISA was mandatory, they moved on. But DISA gave a very good foundation for us to succeed with the CISA in the first place. The fees for the international certification tend to be much, much higher, so that we need to have cognizance. And also each repeat attempt also comes with a certain cost tag.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The next question is from Jyoti Bagre, New Delhi.
Sorry to interrupt, Dipali. And if, with the permission, if Nandita bin permits, can I speak for
Of
two
course,
to 3
of
minutes?
course.
Because I am here in the Board of Discipline hearings and I have come out of to address this. So again, I have to go back. I have taken the permission from presiding officer. So then I can talk and then I can also go because I want to address being this the first. So, very respected my senior council member and mentor, CA Kemisha Soni, Central Council member. I can see Pauna Ben also, who has joined recently. So, who is always a guide and mentor, and also Nandita Ben, who is always guide, mentor, and great support. And all my dear moderators, I can see Dipali, Sonia, Kashmira, Shweta, and Tapulapta secretary and entire team. So, and my all beautiful, intelligent women chartered accountant. It's a pleasure for me to be here in front of all of you once again, previous year and this year also. And friends, last year we have completed 100 episodes of Sky High Symposium, and this we have changed entire nomenclature and the shape of this series. And starting with the Yashaswini, and today being the first session. So, Yashaswini means the successful women, and an idol. So, which implies that inclusivity, diversity. So, it is not about male or female, it is all about inclusivity and diversity, and always women being the outstanding performer. Oh, and going to be at the leadership position. With this theme, we have started this series, Yashaswini, and every month we will have one topic so that everyone can ponder on their areas of interest. So, starting with the internal audit, along with the non-technical and motivating talks by the leaders in the profession. So I'm very fortunate to have Bhavna Ben and Nandita Ben to begin this year's webinar series with the great support of Kemisha Ben, because she is always there to guide how to do, what should be the name. So always been the guide to entire for the entire year and entire council. So And friends, with this series, as all of you are aware, in my earlier series webinars also, we are having various initiatives for the women. And now with 3 women at least in the council, we are moving and progressing more and more. When Bhavna Ben was sometimes the only women in the council, so now the things are changing. And today's Times of India, at the end, I request Sapulabda to share on the screen. See, in 2000, there were only 8% of the women ratio, and today it is 29.3%. Nari Shakti Bill is coming. But I feel कि as a chartered accountant professional, we do not require any reservation. We are always on the capabilities, and without any such reservation, also we have 29.3% of women fraternity in our membership. So out of 4 lakhs, 1,20,000 members are women members. Every since last 2 attempts, 44.5% are women chartered accountants. Girls are passing CA, and we have 42.9% are the girl students. However, the ratio in the actual profession is very less, maybe less than 30 to 40%. So this is the initiative to ensure that all are updated with the knowledge. Come forward to, this is the platform for all the women, so that we upgrade their knowledge and make them technically competent, as well as they increase their confidence level also by motivating speeches of the leaders. And again, we have started initiated with first time in the 75 years of ICI, the CA Women Excellence Award, to recognize the women leadership and motivate the entire women fraternity to come forward and ensure that they can also do some outstanding performance and become the have their professional career and become the leaders. So with this, once again, starting with this Yashaswini, the webinar series today coming out with part 1. So I wish all of you a great successful journey in the profession and have a great year. And all these moderators were part of this committee last year, and the great work has also been done by all these my dear 4 moderators. And stay in touch, and please continue to support this women fraternity. Thank you once again, and I wish you a great successful journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Preeti, for the inspiring words. You are always an inspiration to all of us, and you'll always be an inspiration to all of us. So, to carry forward the question further, Nandita madam, this is for you. She's saying, thank you for a great inspiration. When we have breaks in our career, as life happens, how do you propose we deal with our... Hello? How do you propose we deal with our profiles being ignored due to gaps, or even if someone considers our profile, they propose a pay cut due to break in the career. So how do we break through the old school thought the breaks in career makes us incompetent?
So my take is always that what have you done during the break, which becomes very important. Have you done any courses? Have you done any writing of articles? Have you published anything? Have you done certain pro bono assignments? So sometimes you can just work free of cost, because then it is less structured work. So, that is something. But now when I look at younger people, it is taking breaks is the norm. uh, People are taking sabbaticals in between jobs. The startup folded up, or the startup rights became vested. I engaged, and I'm taking a 1 year of world tour. So I think breaks will not be any would not be looked down upon. Having said that, if I get an opportunity for an interview, and if I'm able to engage as to how I have enriched myself during my break, then it becomes a good negotiating point or a good starting point. Technology upgradation can be done. Social media engagement can be different. Writing of articles, becoming a corrector, becoming a teacher for a specialized course sometimes. So there are a lot of things you can do when full-time work is not possible. So these are some of the things that but if you've taken a 4-5 year break and completely disconnected from the profession, then maybe there is a little justification that somebody is giving you a stepping stone, but they will not put you at the same level with your colleague who you have left 5 years back. So that acceptance should also be there.
Correct. Absolutely, ma'am. And one more question, Vinita from Bikaner. Similar question. The only difference here she's asking, is there any assistance provided by the ICAI if she wants to venture into the area of internal audit of the companies?
I think the amount of publications and resources which are already available. So I always go back, what is internal audit? There are a lot of published material. There are industry-wise guides which are there. And the portal is there where women CS can put up their profile. I don't think that within the internal audit space, a professional who's wanting to work, even remotely, there would be opportunities available, but upgrade. And to that end, I think there is certificate course. I just saw the announcement for internal audit. So if a course like that is done, you will come across 25, 30 other people who are also looking at this, and that is how you move. Somebody would recommend, somebody would take you along. I think we should stop here. I want to listen to Bhavna Ben, and I don't want to eat into her time at all.
No,
If there are
no
any
further
other questions, oh, great.
Yeah, there are no further questions.
So
now I come to the pleasant task of thanking you, madam. See, we always say that knowledge is of no value unless we put it into practice. So experience is always more important than knowledge. Your lecture really proved this. Beautiful slides with self-explanatory notes. That was the most amazing, eye-catching things of your presentation. Plus, at the same time, you gave such lucid examples, real life examples, which we can relate to. And then that is how we can also assert what are the risk factors involved and how to audit all those factors, like simple valuation. So in short words, you have amazingly put the difficult topic of internal audit by giving very simple practical examples and make us understood how we can go further ahead in this kind of a career. So we really thank you so much, ma'am. We carry out with a loud applause. Yeah, thank you once again, and over to the next session.
Ma'am, before we go for the next session, as Preeti ma'am told, that we would just like to show that how we have been acknowledged by Times of India. So there has been a proper write-up in Times of India which shows the which just a moment, ma'am. I'm just joining in Zoom. 8478 488 488 397. This is the actual figures which from many reputed journalists have come to take the interview from ICI, and they took the interview with our president, and they have gathered all the information. Share. I would like to share screen and show that this is one of it. Yeah. Is the screen? Yeah, this is the one, and it is quite a big advertisement in Times of India today. So quite in, it is lot of much in news today. So we have got it across from many places that from 8% in 2000, the number of CAs have now shot to 30% across the nation. And okay. Share. And this is the elaborative one. Yeah, this one. Where the headlines speak that gender balancing the sheet, every third CA in country is now a woman, and they have a story in this. The second headlines speak for chartered accountancy sector sees promising growth trends. Thereafter, women make up 43% of CA aspirants from 30% in 2019, which is like 30% from 8% to 30% now. And 1 in 3 CAs in India is a woman. And it's about all the aspirants and the toppers and the success stories of the CAs, which has been covered widely by Times of India, showing the grip of CA women across the nation. So this news is very much in touch with so many people across many groups. So if I think we all should feel proud of this, as Preeti ma'am told very rightly, that all the achievements have actually made the media and everyone else believe that what women are worth for. Now ma'am, you can please continue.
So, a very good evening to all. Firstly, extend my gratitude to Chairperson Priti Savla ma'am or Vice Chairperson Kamisha Soni ma'am of WMAC committee for giving me this wonderful opportunity to moderate this session. I'm sure this time also the committee is going to surpass the high benchmark set by the Priti ma'am itself in the last year, because now we have super energetic and passionate women as a chairperson and a vice chairperson of this committee. And being female, it's really a privilege to be the moderator for this vibrant committee. Now it's a time to introduce another inspiring female or a speaker of the day today, that is a Bhavna Joshi ma'am. Bhavna Joshi ma'am is the founder partner of Bhavna Joshi and Associates LLP, an advisory firm specializing in the field of corporate advisory services, and has been providing taxation and advisory services for over 40 years. She served an independent director on board of several listed companies. She has the distinction being the only woman to be elected as the council of the ICI for 4 terms of 3 years each. Having chaired Accounting Standard Board, she served as a chair of Research, Vision, Professional Development, and other committees. She has represented India on the Compliance Advisory Panel of International Federation of Accountants headquarters in New York also, which has select members from across the world. Feel proud to share that she was a president of the Indian Merchant Chamber and continue to be actively associated with its activity. She has served on the committees of CCI and is currently the member of the managing committee of association. She is a regular faculty at programs organized by professional institute and business chambers, and also deliver lecture abroad. She qualified ICI and was ranked second at all India level at both intermediate and final examination, and was first among all ladies candidates. She holds master degree in commerce from University of Mumbai. After going through the profile, we can truly say, ma'am, you are a perfect blend of professional excellence with the leadership quality and inspiration from many. And now the today topic, be the change, means be the kind of a person you think that would make this world a better place. And that means if it requires you to make that changes to yourself, then do it and lead by example. So now I request Bhavna ma'am to start the deliberation for the most stimulating topic.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Let me just share the screen. But before I do that, first of all, I must say I'm truly delighted to be here with you all today. And what we are going to talk on, a very interesting subject, which is not only dear to me, but I'm sure is dear to many, many of us here. But let me just start first my presentation, share the screen, and then we'll start with the discussion. Is the screen visible to you all? Hello?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
It is visible, right? Okay. So thank you. And of course, Kamisha and Preeti. Preeti, of course, is much closer to us being in Mumbai, but Kamisha as well. Kamisha is also, I've interacted with her so often. So thank you both for this opportunity. And we are very lucky to have me and Nandita both to start off this year's series, Yashashwini. It's really a very nice name that you all have coined, and which really represents what women are today doing in this space. So when we come to the subject of be change and a desire to change for all of us, and the we all like to change ourselves. We like to see people around us changing. We also like the environment around us to change. And as we see, the change is very, very exciting. Anytime we talk about change, we do something different, something new, it brings in that excitement. It brings in the freshness. It brings some new thoughts, new perspectives, and so on. And every change that you see brings about new opportunities and new challenges as well. So today, the change that we see around us is huge, huge. India's economy is really going from strength to strength. We were an underdeveloped nation to become a developing nation, and now we will soon be a developed nation. Expectation is that we will reach that target by 2047. The overall growth of the economy, our GDP is also growing very fast. And as we all heard, when it comes to CAs, and particularly the contribution of women, generally in the economy also there is significant contribution of women. But when we look at our profession also, we are so excited that every third CA is a woman CA. And I come from the time when I qualified, there were very few who could be counted on fingertips. People would say, okay, 8, 10, how many CAs are there? In fact, when we had any international delegation coming into the country, what we find is that their delegation would at least have few women, whereas when Indian participants would be meeting them, there would hardly be any woman, and the few women who were there would always be invited to join in that session. So we've come a long way. So much change has happened. And to that, the huge addition is of this artificial intelligence. That's throwing up completely new challenges and opportunities. And I remember few years ago, I guess 8 to 10 years ago, we were in one of the European countries and we were traveling by cab and we were discussing about some tax issue or something. And then that taxi driver suddenly asked us, do you tax machines? And we were taken aback. What is he really asking? He said, do you levy income tax on machines? Not yet, but I'm sure soon we will have. And the other day I heard a lecture by Dr. Shom, who was discussing how to tax robots, how to tax these machines. So we are doing it now. We're talking about it. And I'm sure we will soon have to talk about taxation of the new technologies. So we had one interactive session where what we did was we had few of the professionals and we got some of the young students from college to join in for that discussion. And we spoke about the new technologies and how could they be taxed? Could they be taxed? If they are to be taxed, how do you describe it? How do you tax it? Whether it's direct tax, whether it's indirect tax. And it was very, very interesting to talk about it, though we couldn't conclude anything. It was very challenging to even get the basic understanding of how to describe it. So therefore, these are the new areas, new challenges which are coming up. And we will soon start embracing that, learning more about it, and deliberating. And just as we are now really developing the nation, where a lot of people want to come to India now. So the other day I was in a meeting where people were discussing that my colleague from abroad is looking for being placed in India. And I was reminded of a time when several years ago there was a project. It was a EPC contract and a very large project where some of the technicians had come from abroad. So one of the technicians was telling us that it was just getting 2 years, and we asked him that, are you now to go back and new person will join in your place? He said, I'm trying to get an extension. So we asked him, what? He said, yeah, my colleagues are also very surprised back at home, because when I was coming here, they would come and tell me, oh, don't worry, the 2 years will go just like this. It won't be that difficult. As if I was going to a country where I may not get food to eat, where I may not get proper place to stay, and so on and so forth. And here I am, the country is so wonderful, people are so wonderful, they are so intelligent, they understand, they cooperate, they are so loving, so caring. And he really didn't want to go back. So that's what we are as a nation. And as we grow, as we develop, I'm sure it will be much, much more. And some of you might have noticed what Ananya Bidla, uh, as a co-host the other day at recent ET Awards function on corporate excellence, said that we are here already. We are up and running, moving from the time when we were talking about Kaun Banega Crorepati to now we are talking of Kaun Banega $10 trillion economy. So that's the change which is happening, and that's the power of our economic growth. So as we see, lot is changing around us, and you all are facing that. We are also embracing that change. It's not that we are not changing. We are also embracing that change. We have adapted to that change. We are using the apps, we are using social media platforms. Some of us, we have started using AI. In fact, these days when I speak to young people, they continuously are using ChatGPT. So when they do research and come back quickly, the first question we ask is, how did you do it so quickly? Did you use ChatGPT? Answer is yes. It's very useful. So even for our professional work, when we do research or when you have to create documents, people use ChatGPT. And therefore, the question which people often ask is, but then we have embraced change. So now what more is expected when you say be change? What more is expected? And as the change was happening, some of us simply went by. So as we were going along, we saw the changes coming, we adapted to the change, we looked at new things and started doing it. So we just did it, some of us did it just to remain relevant, just so that we can continue in whatever space we were in. But essentially, we were remaining in our own comfort zone. But some of us changed and we went beyond. So we did something different. Some of us developed their own apps. They started mastering the new languages and they carved out a niche for themselves. They are ahead and they remained ahead. In fact, we have so many examples of our CA women who have developed innovative applications, some of them for professional use, some of them for business use, and some of them for societal engagements. Or even take our core fields of audit assurance, whether it's statutory audit or internal audit. And I would say Nandita, the co-speaker today, is someone who represents, who not only adapted to the change, but went beyond and created a niche for herself. She's an apt example of this. She branched out, as she was explaining, to set up internal audit practice. At that time, it was not really very well known, but she ventured into that new space. She developed the tool, she learned the techniques, she trained her staff, and more importantly, showed to the businesses that this is not a mere compliance with law, it is a value addition for business. It is something that you need. And as she was explaining, there are so many incidents where she has been able to show value to the businesses, and that's where the internal audit's power is. I remember our
classmates who again in very early days, maybe 40 years ago, started doing this internal audit, and he used to call it management audit at that time. And once he was explaining to us how when he did audit of advertising expenses, he brought in so much of value that the management team, the leadership team immediately realized that, oh, there is so much to it. And thereafter, he has been with them, and even till today, any major such assignment is going to him. But that's what we need to do. We need to, even when we look at this change, the AI that's coming in, the use of it that's coming in, even in statutory audit, there is so much of change as we see the presentations being made by statutory auditors today to the audit committee. There is so much of change. They are using tools, and it's visible for them to obtain greater insights into the business models and conduct deeper analysis of all the transactions and give us a very good insight into what's happening. Now, many of us would like to go beyond. And the question very often is, yes, I would also like to do that. I would like to change. I would like to leapfrog rather than just being incremental, little here and there and adapt to the changes. And there are so many ifs and buts. Where do I get that wherewithal to do it? I can change and I can learn also. But we are from small practice. Cost is a huge factor. And that I understand, that is an issue, that there are challenges. But then my theory for myself always is that if I want to do something, if my heart is in it, I will always find a way. And if I don't find, it's an excuse of not doing it because I don't strongly believe in it. If you strongly believe in something, you will always find a way and you will do it. So what can one do? So say for smaller practices, can we think of forming alliances, forming groups, coming together, forming perhaps a not-for-profit organization which can acquire these tools, train the members, the cost can be shared, train the members so that for a smaller practice, you don't have to incur so much of expenditure. It doesn't become a burden. It gets shared. And then you are able to use the tools as effectively as anybody else. Because remember, as a professional firm or as an individual professional, what matters the most is delivering quality service in cost-effective and time-effective manner. So unless you deliver in a very timely manner, yet not at exorbitant cost, and there must be highest standard of quality, then only people will come to you and you will be successful. So what can change and how does one change? So the key determinants are, if I want to change, what would I need to do? So first, I must look at my own strengths, what I know, what I have learned, and what can I learn? Because we all must learn, and we keep learning that at any age, at any time, at any level of our standing in the profession. Like I'm sure Nandita also attends courses or reads up things and contributes article, which is a great learning exercise. We also do that continuously. Either we are lecturing, so preparing for it, or attending courses also where something new, completely different comes up. So we must first look at our own core strengths. And second, look at our client. What is our client base? Are they remaining same? Are they changing? What's happening at their level? So when we look at our strengths, and if we are looking at change, what we must look at is, who are we? How do you describe yourself? Will you describe yourself as a finder, as a minder, or a grinder? And that's what David Mester, who's one of the authors who writes and lectures on the success of professional firms. So he says, you look at your own self and decide, who are you? So when you say finder, it means that do you have the capability and the ability to reach out to clients, discuss with them, explain to them, and get them to come on board? How do you win a client? How do you find a client? So there are finders. Some of us could be minders. We're very good at managing assignments. So we can be a project manager, we can even regular assignments, we can do very effectively. So we can be the minders. And there could be, some of us could be grinders. And the grinders are foot soldiers, the people who actually carry out the assignment. So there are these three classes which one would say, one would classify oneself in. But then when we are starting a new practice, it's very difficult to have so many people. In a larger organization, this is very easy. Somebody could be a finder, there could be managers who are minders, and there would be associates who would be the grinders who are actually doing the work. But for a smaller firm, all three is in one. And there's nothing wrong in it. In fact, there are examples of very large firms. When they started, they said, we were the peons ourselves. So we were office boys when we entered the office. And thereafter, we would do the work. So we were grinders and minders and also the finders. So there can be all the three into one initially. Then as you start growing, it becomes 2 in 1 and then 1 to 1. So then you change your role and you keep growing. And we would have so many examples of women who have moved out of their comfort zones and they have tried to master the new technology. So they've become the finders, minders, grinders initially. And thereafter, they have moved to the new technology where whichever field, or it could be any other field, it could be an HR, it could be investment banking, and so on. So if you think the finance, accounting, taxation is not your space, it doesn't excite you as much as anything else, then step out confidently. But just think about your own strengths. Do you have the strengths? Do you have the capabilities? Or can you cultivate those capacities and the skill sets to move out? Your basic education is there, which will always help you. But if you want to move out, step out, and master other areas, say enterprise is one such field. You can be an entrepreneur, and your deep data analytics capabilities, your ability to read financials, understand them, comes naturally being a chartered accountant, and that helps you to grow. So that's how one starts growing and tries to bring in these qualities, the strengths together, but your assessment will depend on all of this. Now, at the same time, while looking at your own strengths, this is one aspect. But the second aspect is look at your clientele. What do they want? Now, if there is a client who's looking at you for a statutory audit, what is he looking at is something which is a sort of standardized service. There may be a little counseling, there may be a little consulting, but by and large, it's more of a standard practice. So he doesn't expect to pay you significantly because he thinks it's a standard product that he is coming to get. There's nothing which you can significantly add to him. So what he's really looking at is how efficiently you will do it and how cost effectively you will do it. And for that, you will need to ensure that you have the best technical knowledge to handle that assignment, and at the same time, you are able to use the new tools which are available so that the work can be done in the minimum possible time. For similar is the situation with tax, whether we talk of IT, whether we talk of GST or compliances. Now, today you would see IT compliances, and you will find people doing it on really large scale, because here you have the tools which you have to take, and you will find several people who will do that work. Now, they may not necessarily be chartered accountants. You may even engage non-chartered accountants to do that assignment, but it's like an entrepreneurial engagement or a venture where you can do the work for Indian taxation. Some people do it for US taxation, some do it for UK taxation. So these are again more of standardized jobs because you have the software available, so you have the tools, you put in the data, and what is expected of you is more like where there is some issue or something, a little counseling. So how David Mester relates to it, and he connects it with the medical field. So he says, when someone comes to you for assurance engagement, taxation engagement, some compliance engagement, it's like he's going to a pharmacy. When you go to a chemist and you want to buy a medicine, you'll generally ask for a medicine, and more or less it's standardized, so that medicine will be dispensed to you. So that's how your standardized practices become. But the differentiator for us is that we still need high level of technical knowledge and to be able to deliver technically superior product. So time is of essence, cost is of essence, but technical skills is absolutely on top of it. And that's what a client is expecting, whether it's tax, whether it's audit, because it doesn't want to be visited with penalties and the consequences that one would have to face. Let's say now you are in that practice where you have, say you are doing IT compliances. So I met in between one lady, she said, we do about 1,500 clients' tax returns. So we have the tools, we quickly fill it up, then it goes to the next person who reviews it, and it goes out, gets filed, whatever. And only if there is some issue, then the tool will throw out that this is something different, and that would go to our senior who would look at it and then take a call. So that's one way of doing it. But let's say a client comes to you now, he's very happy that what you are doing, the service is good, timely, cost effective, comes and asks you, but then I have a challenge now. I'm doing an acquisition and I need to understand how do I structure it, what will be the implications, whether it's tax, whether it's accounting issues, what sort of issues will come, and I need you to help. Now, the temptation would be, certainly, you'll want to say, fine, I mean, there's some nice assignment which is coming up, let me just take it up. But then, that would be wrong. You would be not correct unless you have been keeping in touch with it and you are familiar with all of that subject. Because otherwise, the idea is that you will now be like a family doctor where he has come to you, but then you'll go to a specialist. And a specialist would be able to guide you. Or you have a solution, so you take that solution, but go to a specialist, get it vetted. Why? Because you don't want the client to somewhere get later on wake up and say, oh, this was missed out. You may do it. It's not that one just can't do it, but one needs to be more cautious. One needs to be more careful because this is more of a specialized nature of service. Now, you can also be in specialized kind of services. You don't want a larger organization. You don't want to do too many things. You don't want to do too many filings, etc., etc. But you are a brainy person, what is called as a silverhead person. And you can really quickly understand, appreciate, keep yourself abreast of all the developments. Then what you are like a surgeon in a hospital. Somebody will come to you. Your engagement with that person is that client will explain to you what is required to be done. You will give a solution, and then you will implement it. It's like a surgeon who will tell you, yes, this surgery is required and I can do it. Now I can use some new technology where it could be just precision cut, or it could be a larger cut, whatever. But it's a surgeon who will now do that task, and you will also similarly do that task. So that's how one, just relating it to the field of medicine. And as this one of my favorite slides, because I always say that these are the topics which are really not technical topics where one can teach someone that this is how you do this, or there's a tax issue and whether capital gains will apply, will not apply, or what will happen. But what one can do in such non-technical sessions is only teach. One cannot teach, but one can only show what can be done and how can you think differently. Ultimately, when we say be the change is to think differently. And there are so many situations where one can think differently. If you ask yourself, you'll come across so many situations, and I would really like to keep it brief so that I can have greater interaction, where you would have had opportunities to think through and do something differently, which could also benefit other participants. So my next slide is that the new normal is just be the change. One needs to keep all the time thinking of change, and the pace of change is so fast that unless we change ourselves, we will now it's not only for being relevant, will literally become irrelevant. Today, when I see so many young people, the first question they ask is, I've cleared CA, but what do I do now? Because I don't want to join a small practice because that would be all compliance work. I don't want to do audit because after some time it gets only paperwork. So only thing I want to do is do investment banking. So I asked them, fair, investment banking. So what is the experience that you have that an investment banker would engage you? And do you know that in investment banking is more like a personalized service? It's like somebody who's a finder and minder into one. Hardly one or two grinders are required. So hardly few people that they would take, and they would want people who are little experienced. Somewhere maybe you have that skill set, you are able to impress, you can get in. But otherwise, that's very difficult to say that I've just qualified and I want to get into investment banking. Or some people would come to say, but I would like to join a firm very large for consulting assignment. Again, it's aspirational. One must have that aspiration. But having just qualified with very little experience of consulting, how would you be able to deliver what is expected from you even at the base level? So people must be prepared to really go through that grind for 2 or 3 years to get little experience of how consulting assignments work, and then aspire to be in a larger consulting firm. So my thought is, yes, one must change, one must look at the change, but the change is not just for the sake of changing. Assess your own capabilities, assess the opportunities that are available to you. And entrepreneurship, to my mind, is one great area. Today, we find several Indians leading in the space of AI. And so many of our members also, I know, are venturing into that space and developing new apps and so on. So that's an area for the young people. Perhaps people like me find it very difficult to understand much, except that, yes, through ChatGPT, one can do the search, ask the right questions. If not the right question, go on asking additional questions. So when we were discussing AI, the new technology taxation, one student asked, "Ma'am, but what will happen? Somebody has paid for, say, original Chat GPT, the version, whatever you purchased. Today, there is no license fee, there is no royalty, there is no charge whatsoever. But supposing somebody has paid, but I'm training Chat GPT because every time that I ask a question, they learn. Next time somebody asks the question, it's the improved version. So 5 times I have asked the question, I've got a very good answer because I asked different questions such that it kept on learning. It learns by itself. It's generative. So it keeps learning by itself. So now, what will happen to that learning? I have paid, I have trained, I have not charged. But the person who charged me now, should they reduce? Give me a discount because now I have trained it. So the next person to whom they sell would be more valuable product. But this is what one student came up with, and I'm sure in the minds of students and several people, there are lots of questions which are coming, and one is trying to really work on it as to how one can answer them. So with that, I guess most of them are ladies. Ladies, I would like to stop here. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to deal with them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We have only one question. It is how we can get the PPT of this. So I think this question is answered by the committee better.
Yeah, I've shared with the committee. So they will. And only thing is, Tapalata, if you share, just convert it into PDF.
Okay, we don't have
Was that,
as we don't
yeah,
have
was
any
that
other
too
question.
difficult to understand? Was it little too, I mean, to think? But I'm sure if you all think through a little and analyze for yourself what you are currently doing, and one must spend some time to think through as to where I want to be. Just as we tell our clients, we tell the companies that think through where you want to be after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, and then see what changes you need to do, how you want to change yourself, how you want to change the organization where you are working, and then how you can go about it.
So thank you, CA Bhavna Doshi, for such an informative and inspiring knowledge sharing session. Your experience from the life and knowledge gained from it will undoubtedly going to help us for looking our professional life in different perspective. Also want to thank you, our other speakers, CA Nandita Parekh, my coordinators Kashmira, Sonia, and all other team members. I want to thank internal team of WIMEC. Also want to thank chairperson of the committee, CA Preeti Savla and CA Kamisha Soni. I think we have done for the today. Requesting technical team to please conclude the session.